what I've learned at 35 is like now I've got to calculate the cost of my future decisions a lot more because I have a really good life right now, but I am now paying for the decisions at 21, 22, 23, making $400,000 or $500,000 a year, not understanding that I should have taken a lot of that money, invested it in a lot more things, and I'd probably have another 20, 30 million bucks right now. I literally wrote on the thing, cost of my future decisions on my mirror, and I wrote 30 million bucks because I wrote, I was listening to the wrong people about money, and I was watching them go buy all this shit that didn't suit their life, and that is a cost of a future decision. The cost of being unhealthy versus then having to be 35 years old. If you're 23 and you're eating cheeseburgers and you do that for the next 10 years, well, now you're 35 and you have to unscrew all of those years, and your body can't ever really catch up to that, no matter really what you want to do. So everything has a future decision. Everything has a future cost, and you just have to decide what it's going to be.
Welcome to the Jacqueline Elliott Show. Today I have a 2-for-1 very special guest. We got Ian and Evan Macklin, the twins.
Yeah, we call it the Ian and Evan Macklin twins.
We do not call it the Ian and Evan Macklin.
I came first, and so it's just super important that everybody knows that. Hey, it's the Ian and Evan Macklin twins.
We're just blessed to be on this show. This is going to be one of the best podcasts on YouTube, Spotify, all that stuff. But please don't start off with being some of Jacqueline's first guests and lying to her audience. Can we not start that way?
You got it.
Thank you for having us, Jacqueline. We're here.
We're
the
excited.
Evan and Ian Macklin twins. We're excited.
He almost said Ian and Evan, but let's rock. Let's rock.
I say Ian and Evan because I know you were born first.
See, she agrees.
It's the only thing he ever won. Did you know that? You know that. She's around us a long
It depends.
enough,
Sometimes one of you is more loving than the other, and then I'll go like, okay.
You always say I'm more loving than him. Every day, you're like, you're so much more loving
He's getting
than Evan.
better, though. Huh? You're getting more.
I give you hugs every time I see you. Evan's like off doing
I'm
shit.
out making. I got to be her top producer, so there's things that I got to handle. You know,
true.
she's talking about love
That's
as
true.
winning. Jacqueline's love language is, showing kindness and time and go and doing that stuff. I got to get better at that, but I also want to go fuck some shit up.
Her love,
How about
her
we
love
do both?
language is
How
also
about
putting
we
up a
not
lot of
have
revenue
it?
too.
How can we not have it all? Don't we talk about that all the time?
But we do talk about that. That's why I'm getting better at.
Hey,
This is why
her
you
love language is a lot of revenue too, so you do crush that.
That is
so,
true.
That is
That
true.
is
I will
true.
whip your ass and ask you, hey, are you tracking what you need to be tracking?
Totally.
Hey, your family needs this. Like, what's going on?
100%.
Anyway.
You got no problem.
Okay, well,
pushing.
thank you for being here, both of you.
Thank you.
So,
We're excited.
going back to the beginning, I guess, like you guys started in the car business. You guys were number 1 and number 2 top Nissan sales guys in the world, right?
Yep.
We won't say who was 1 and who was number 2 unless you guys really want to do that.
It was mostly Evan. About 70% of the time
Thank
it was
you.
Evan. About 30% of the time it was me.
Rewind
but,
that.
It takes a lot, to carry somebody to their goals every month and, to make them feel important. Evan's, I had to, so no.
So we did go that way,
yeah.
which I totally expected.
But we both produced a lot, and we had fun just competing against each other. That's probably why we did what we did, because we were always competing.
Yeah.
Well, I've never met, I haven't been around a lot of twins in my life, I'll be honest with you, but I've never met a set of twins that actually think so much in alignment as you guys. Like, it's the craziest thing. Like, if we go to a restaurant, you'll order the same thing, not even being together, go out from a store and you have the same thing in your hand from different stores. It's the craziest thing.
So true.
And you guys get along like really good. Have you always been this way?
Yeah.
Well, we don't always get along. We fight quick. We're always around each other, but we are in alignment because we always understood that, it's kind of crazy because you guys say an individual can't be beat, or an individual can be beat, but a team can't. And so we realized that early on, that we were just blessed with an extra team member.
Yeah.
And people couldn't usually take both of us on. So we always used to just say, my mom always used to say, especially when it came to like us running around the neighborhood, she's like, hey, if you guys stick together, nobody will kidnap you.
Yeah.
She's like, so just run around the neighborhood, because we didn't have.
She's like, they don't want you both.
She's like,
You'll be too much.
We didn't have babysitters growing up. We didn't have
Yeah.
babysitters growing up. We come from a single mom household. So
Yep.
she always used to say, just run around the
In the
neighborhood.
hood.
And listen, at the end of the day, if you guys stick together, nothing will happen to you. So we always just stuck together.
Yeah.
That's
You
like
listen to your parents.
Yeah,
That's
so
good.
that's how it happened. And then we just always have worked together. We've always just bounced ideas off of each other. We've always been so stirred up about winning and having a chip on our shoulder and going out and getting it done. So we've just been blessed. Like we're truly blessed.
We have 4 sets of twins in our family though, and we've been around a lot of twins, you know, like we've just seen a lot of twins. Maybe because we're twins, we see more twins, and you know they're always like internally competing, like to compete to like be the better twin or whatever. Yeah. Like that's why I'm totally cool with saying that he was a little bit better than me.
Well, you're not totally cool with it.
Well, like, because the camera's on, I'm totally cool, but like otherwise, like, it stirs me up and makes me want to kick his ass. But people compete internally, like, oh, you're not that great, like, you know, they don't want him to win. Ultimately, like, if he went and sold 4 cars, it would make me sell 2 or 3. And maybe I wasn't even going to sell those 2 or 3, but because my environment was like that, it always made me do really well. That's why we've always liked a team.
But you're naturally very competitive.
Massively
like,
competitive.
I've seen you guys like run races and end up bloody because you're tripping over each other. It's like, I mean, it's really
because we want to be number one, and we know that like we're built the exact same, right? So it's mostly like mindset, right? Like because if we eat the same exact thing, we're like twins of twins. We eat the same thing. We do all the same stuff.
Have you ever tricked your girlfriends or girls in the past?
But they're gonna watch this, so like, you know, now we're married. So
you guys are fine. They're fine.
We've never tricked them.
You know, but now we're 35.
They're way smart. See, we attracted after we met you guys. We started to attract a higher level talent.
Oh, you can't say that again.
You know, because we became better guys. But before that, we were able to trick those girls. They were freaking 100%. Simple.
So you did play
games.
games.
Totally, they were easy. Like they were not the cream of the crop. But now. We got some good ones.
These ones are smart.
Yeah. Yep. But no, we always like to play jokes on everybody. We play jokes on our teachers, on girls, on any type of twin thing that you you imagine yourself doing as a twin. Yeah. We probably did it.
Well, we saw all these twins like that just didn't have fun.
They didn't love it.
Being twins. And so like we would like, you know, in the car business, the one thing that we could do that was different than everybody else, you know, when a customer would come up and their walls are up, they're like, oh, you're a car salesman, they're pissed off. If we got a cold client, we'd walk inside to each other and we'd be like, oh, this guy's cold. So I would send Evan out and he would, you know, go pull the car out. And
like I was him.
Like he was me. Yeah. And he'd start going through, and we'd be wearing totally different stuff. And then I would run out and be like, Evan, are you stealing my customer? And like the customers were always like, what's going on? And it was like they forgot where they were at.
Get back in there. This is my customer.
Yeah,
and we'd argue for a few minutes.
And then we'd just joke around. We'd be like,
oh, damn, dude.
So we always look for like the competitive advantage and things that work for us. Like everybody's got a gift that they could use that they probably don't know. Twins that like were like us, they had a gift, but they just never used it. So
So I think a lot of people from the outside see you as like, oh my gosh, they have so much energy. They're always happy. They're always so good. Do you think that being a twin has helped you with that energy, with that, you know, that competitiveness, but also, you know, that charisma that you guys carry that everybody looks at, you know, because I mean, I think you guys like I like to borrow some of that. I like to steal some of that energy sometimes. And that's why we're always like running on top of each other, doing stuff like that. But I mean, you've had it since you were like, I mean, when we met you, you guys were this way, and you've carried it on to the whole team, which is awesome. Yeah. But
we didn't know where that was from for a lot of years, and it comes from my grandfather. Like it really does. It's you know, it gives me chills just thinking about it. But he was like the most charismatic guy in the room. He was the guy who always wanted to make people feel good around him. He was the guy that was always joking with the bartender. He was always the guy that was like, he was just so magnetic. And so we didn't even know, to be honest. Like we used to talk about it all the time because people would tell us like, oh, you guys got this skill. You just kind of influence the room. And we didn't even understand what that meant. And we didn't know subconsciously we were learning that from my grandfather. And then over the years, people would say, hey, you guys kind of remind me of your grandfather. We're like, really? He's fucking badass, you know? And he always had an authentic heart, and he was always trying to teach other people. I think that's what ended up making us end up becoming teachers and coaches and trainers, which when we were growing up, we thought that was kind of a weird job. We're like, my grandpa was a teacher. We're like, that sounds so boring. We didn't understand the fulfillment. But then now that I compare and look back, I'm like, holy smokes, he didn't leave us with money. He left us with habits, which is what you guys talk about all the time. You don't know that your kids, your grandparents, your grandkids are actually watching what you're doing. So we took on a lot of his habits. And then it just became...
also with energy, like, you know, it's a total skill. Like, you know, there's a lot of that stuff that's pre-programmed in us because of what we saw and who we are. But like before this podcast, man, I had like 5 Zooms, and then we all went and hit curls. Like we are, you know, like your energy, if you're not manufacturing
they needed
it out
to bring
of yourself,
the special energy from
because Like, dude, we have a gym. And you guys, like, you know, you guys used to say, like, remember our dream was like, man, we're gonna build a gym in like our office one day. And then we had a protein shaker, and remember the fridge we had? Like, it was just like a little fridge.
We had a little 780 square foot little building, and we didn't actually have workspaces.
Yeah.
So when we had events, we had to put all of our desk stuff in the trunks of our cars.
Yep, remember that?
Get going, yeah.
Or where did we put it in that next door office? Where was that? So we had a 700 square foot conference room.
There was a
when
little
we first
storage.
started.
There was a little closet that had like a toilet that didn't work there, and a sink that didn't work there, and all the stuff from the building didn't work, and we would just shove everything stacked.
One of the coolest things I thought about, like, our old office, number one, we were just like, when things get bigger, like, you have to be able to take care of them at a level that, like, it's like a different level, right? So when we were at a smaller level, one of the things that I thought was the coolest thing was, you know, this energy is a skill, right? And we were able to like leave the office and go work out with you guys.
Yeah.
And I never been able to leave work ever. And then you guys would have this vision, you guys would cast this vision like, we're gonna live in Arizona. We're gonna have a conference room that views the mountains. Like, I'm looking at the mountains right now. We have the most beautiful facility in the world. And you guys would tell us this stuff, and you guys had this delusional belief. Everything that you guys have said has literally come true. Like, it's like
crazy.
It's like
almost down to
ridiculous.
like
to the day, the time. You're like, it's gonna look like this.
other than
your
your new house being built,
Other than your new house.
we won't
Wanna
bring
talk
that
about
up.
that. Don't talk about that.
Well, it's still going to look like that. I drew that thing on a napkin. back
I
in
remember.
September.
I remember when you drew. This is one thing I'm gonna tell you about Jackie. When she knows that she's gonna do something, she's already
over.
designed it
It's
3-4 years
over.
in advance. And I remember her showing us the plans of how the house would look, exactly how it would be, like 4 years ago. We'd be like, oh my God, that's crazy. But like, I'm thinking like, she's kind of crazy. Like I don't even know how that works. But energy, like going back to that, like you guys built the gym
not always
here,
factory
like
installed.
it's not always factory installed. You have to work on it. You know, when my energy's low, I'm very aware, and I'll go freaking hit those push-ups, hit that grind.
We've learned to be very self-aware. So like, you know, it's a lot of things are caught, not just taught. So you get around people that have energy. So like our people, they come around us and they naturally raise their energy up because it's basically our brand.
Right.
People walk up and they're like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, okay, dude, it's all good. Like, you know, it's, you know, but like we've built this brand.
Well, they're trying to mirror you. Yeah.
Right. Well, it's like Bradley when he makes a joke. Even if he makes the same joke, you're like, you think it's Brad. You know it's Brad, so you just laugh. Like, right? Like
Yeah, but he just has a certain way about him that he just.
But like any leader, like even if Kevin Hart or somebody comes in and since his brand is laughing, like our brand is energy, so people naturally now
They up
it's
it.
like their energy goes from right here to here. Like Andy, they naturally.
Yeah, well,
what you
I
can
mean,
do-
even I do that. I feel
totally.
like anybody that's around.
So
So
what
when you
you
see
do,
that, you know it's coming.
You try to just get around people, and then like you just emulate it a little bit, and you try to like, you know, you try to if that's what you want to be like, you know, if that's not what you want to be like, then don't. But like if you want to,
Most people want to be that way, but they don't really want to admit it.
Yeah, if you admit it, which is the first step, get around some people that have a little bit more energy and raise it, and then when you're at home. Also, you got to understand, we've been doing high-level habits for a lot of years, especially as us together as the Elliott Group. You know, taking good care of yourself, what you eat, all of that stuff, everything that you do, your routine. My routine actually from 2, 3, 4, 5 days ago, the last 2-3 weeks of my routine produces the energy today.
Of course, yeah.
That it's like a manufacturing machine that's going on inside of you. So if my energy sucks today, it's probably because my last 2 days was terrible or something. Totally.
Yeah, and a lot of the transformation that you talk about having, which we've seen a massive transformation in you guys just from when you first came
Bigger
on
than
and
me,
how
probably,
you are.
right?
Well, both of you guys.
She's not going to
She's going to say it.
But
She's going to take the
but
mom.
the-
She's
but
going
I
to take
think
the
a
mom.
lot-
Says, but when you turn around, she's like, you're so
doing
good.
so much
Oh
better
yeah,
than your
mijo,
brother.
it was you.
It was you.
No,
No, she's actually not like that.
No, she doesn't do that.
She's
as
very
much.
diplomatic.
No.
yeah.
She's more like, there's more in the tank. Get to work.
You're gonna make me
work.
forget what I was
Come on, you're
saying.
weak. Sorry.
Come on.
There's not a whole lot of pat on the back.
Yeah.
There's like,
So I like to say, when a lot of people see that big growth, you know,
Yeah,
and everything,
yeah.
and we believe in fast wins, and we teach that, and we do that. And we're very intentional with them. That's why we grow so fast. A lot of people see, like in our business, we've grown in the last 3 years. We've grown massively.
Yeah.
But people don't see the work that it takes before that. Like with Andy, there's a massive transformation, but before he became like what you see all the results, like we had to change ourselves, what we believed. We had to recreate in the dark.
Yeah.
So what kind of in the dark transformation did you have to do to prepare yourself mentally to get to this level, to be here with the Elliott Group and change?
Can I go?
now we're raising our hands.
I think that might work better.
Good job.
No, honestly, we just followed what you guys did.
Yeah, honestly, seriously, we backed into what you guys did, and as I think a lot of people, even like like we just watched what you guys would say, and we truly believe what you're saying. Like, we don't have to go recreate the wheel. We're like, all right, go to Andy's oldest YouTube video, look at the way he talked, look at the belief that he had. Look
What
at
made you
yours.
trust us? Like,
It
what
was
made you
really,
trust us?
well, number one, I'll tell you how I started trusting you guys. When we came down to the seminar, it was one thing, but then when we would say, hey man, like, if their kids act a certain way, then they're probably living that certain way.
We said after the first seminar, we were like, we're gonna fly back down there and
just see how they are with their
because we got to meet you, and we're like, we'll hang out with them outside of the lines then and see how they act, their families and all this stuff. And then we just started seeing how good your guys' kids were.
Yeah.
We started seeing
They're
how
pretty
crazy
awesome, I think.
little Ian was about learning and objection handling.
And about winning,
And about
too.
winning.
We're like, dude,
and
that kid wants
we
to
were,
win.
and then we actually saw how you guys treated each other, which we never really were, other than my grandparents, we were really never around like a power couple. And with my grandparents, it was like he went to work and then she kind of did the woman thing. It was never like
60 years of marriage, but like,
And by the way, I'm not discounting that. There's
No.
the reason why he was so powerful is because of that.
Yeah.
But we never saw that because we come from a single mom household. So when we got to see what you guys did, it inspired us to take a deep dive into ourselves and be like, okay, if Andy fucks you up in a meeting today and he's like saying some stuff that your hairs stick up on your neck,
and you're a little
don't
pissed
get
off
defensive.
about.
That's probably your problem.
Yeah.
You know, which is
And
that's the
hard
hardest
to
thing.
that's hard to hear early, or it's hard to hear just naturally. And we had to start realizing, like, we go back to that trust. Do I trust them? Yeah. Well, the only ways we were able to trust you guys is because you guys were always living by what you said.
Yeah,
like,
that's
if you
the
guys were
biggest
total
thing.
frauds,
Number
we'd be
one,
like,
take notes
all
on
right,
that.
bullshit.
Number one.
But like, since we knew like your family was this way, the way you're like, hey, if I'm working all night, Andy would piss me off because he'd be taking leads at like 2 a.m. But like, the fact is, he would wake up at 2 a.m. He'd be taking leads, and he'd be like, I outwork you, and I'm like, I know, and I hate it because I want to outwork him, and it still pisses us all off. But like, you know, like the fact that you would do all these things and then just live by what you said. If you guys said something that was really freaking like, it would come off harsh or whatever, or you'd be like, it's hitting my heart because I know that's me, and your ego would jump up. You'd be like, well, they do it. Well, they tell the truth. Well, you trust them, so might as well.
I think it
run
just
through
comes
the
down
fire.
to everything. People don't want to be led by hypocrites anymore.
Right.
People want to just be led by people who are actually doing it. So just watching you guys do it.
I think that's why people can
every
trust
area.
you guys immediately from stage. Like, you know, we'll go into these things with all the top speakers in the world, and then there'll be lines for you guys and none for them. And I can see that, like, people like that are the speakers are like, man, like, you know, but a lot of people that are speakers, they've lost that edge of being really current in the market, of people know that like they're not doing the work, and people know that you guys are doing the work. So immediately,
We care about individuals.
yeah, but you can feel it. You can feel when somebody has that edge. You can feel when somebody has that progression, and I think it makes people move their belief. Like in our Thanksgiving video, we did a Thanksgiving video for our
Guys made
entire
me
company.
cry.
And it was our present to Jackie, and everybody, we didn't know what everybody said. Everybody went up into the room with the media team and said things you appreciate about the Elliott Group, the Elliots. And then everybody almost said the same thing. They were always like, you believed in me when nobody else did. You showed me. There was one thing that kept coming up in my mind there. You kept showing me a different version of myself that I knew was there, but I couldn't get to. Yeah. And like,
So cool.
you people have to trust you in order for them to understand that and to be able to see that other version of themselves. And that's how our crowd is. That's how the seminars are.
And you know, it's crazy because we talk about that. We talk about being direct with each other. Like, you know, when we built this company, I told Andy, hey, we've had jobs before, and we've shown up. And when the owner or the leaders show up, they're like, pretend like they're working, they're walking on eggshells and all of that. Like I told Andy, we need to build something that feels like it's a family. We need to build something where people don't feel like they're walking on eggshells, and we don't want to walk on eggshells either. We want to be ourselves. But I think that you guys are pretty direct with me. When you don't like something, you're very vocal, and you know, and I know that your heart is good. So then we don't have to walk on eggshells. And me too, like I'm very direct with you guys, and we've gotten into it many times.
Yeah, fought a
but
lot.
you know that you know my heart and my intentions are good, and that's what that level of like, hey, pushing you to be better, you know, comes in. So you guys have been.
It's
really
a
good at
unique kind of trust for sure, and I think companies wish they could get that, but I don't think that they're willing to go through like the suffering with people doing the work, like you guys doing the work yourselves and like recreating and doing all the things you did. Then we were able to even have that conversation, have that frustration, have those headaches, have those tears, and then go back to being a family and figuring it out. You know what I mean?
and people say it all the time. You can't do, work and family together. We've created a family. I think that what's cool is that you guys have gone through some shit. I mean, obviously you've had a hard life. I guess that's subjective, obviously, with everybody. If there's somebody out there who's always had a hard life. But I think with us, we have a lot of the younger guys that work with us that haven't had a lot of people deceive them or hurt them or do that.
Right.
So I think Andy and I were always talking about certain things to make sure that those people can learn from, hey, we burned our hands in the fire. Like, this is
so
what
don't
you need
touch
to
it.
know. But I think you guys have a different level of gratitude because you got a chance to go through those hard things.
Totally, 100%.
What is something that you would, maybe suggest? Because we have a lot of people.
You're
that are
good at
younger
this, Jackie.
At the audience, what is
She's
something
gonna
you
be
would
the
suggest?
best in the world. She's gonna be the best in the world.
What is something you would suggest that younger audience that hasn't put their hands in the fire enough to get burned to really understand and grow? Because we have people that are like 22 years old that work with us.
Yeah.
And they can, they're massively grateful and all of that, but they haven't experienced what you've experienced before.
Man.
What is one way that they can stay motivated and grateful and still want to elevate and push themselves?
Well, I think
that's
you
a
gotta,
good question.
I think there could be a lot that could go into that, but I would just self-reflect on yourself and like, what do you want? What do you want out of life? Like, actually know what you want. Like, what do you want? And it's going to come down to you keeping your character and your intentions. I think a lot of the times the reason why we all got burned is because at times we weren't the best people and we were letting ourselves be put in situations that we probably shouldn't have been in the first place. So, but we were putting ourselves in those spots, right? Like, so I think that there was times where I let people in my life that I shouldn't have let in, and then I got burned and trusted people that I probably shouldn't have trusted in the first place. So I think with young people, you got to figure out what your character is, what your intentions are, what your core values are. And I wish I would have had people like you or even influencers that would have said stuff like that. So then I could have said, well, hey, this isn't right, or this isn't where I should be, or why would I be doing this? Or, man, I'm having terrible thoughts today. Is that normal? Yeah, it's normal. You got to push through it. Like, I didn't really see any of that stuff. So,
and in sales, sorry to interrupt you, but in sales, a lot of people are like, hey, chase money and do this. And that's why a lot of people love sales.
Yes.
And actually people are embarrassed of saying they have a sales job because of that reputation of doing the wrong thing.
Yes.
And we actually believe in sales and there's another way. What would you say to these people like in the sales jobs, or maybe they don't have those kind of mentors like maybe you guys?
Well, you just got to stick. The reason why you're on this podcast or somebody shared it to you is you got to stick close to the people who are. And once we did that, now there'll be some people that burn us. There'll be some betrayal along the way, but I think we'll be able to contain a lot of the self-inflicted stuff that happens, and I think a lot of it is that way.
Yeah.
So I think once you figure out who you are, what you want, what you do, just stick to it. Just stick to it and don't negotiate with it.
We also, we had some really good leaders along the way that really influenced us to kind of go hard too. And I was looking back at that and I was like, okay, I did have some bad influences and some bad leaders.
Yeah.
And then I did have some good ones. And I was thinking what made me do some of the things that I was looking at doing? I can remember that I saw a leader and he would say something and these people wouldn't listen. And then I would see them bounce around from car dealer to car dealer. And then I saw this one guy, he had been there for 20 years and he was like, hey, these guys, let them all quit. Let them all quit. Like Andy would say, let them all quit.
Yeah.
And they don't understand what to do. So we actually learned a lot of the hard way. We were good at learning the hard way, which means we would just do the wrong thing and
but you're
get
good
our
at
asses
taking
kicked.
risks.
Yeah. But then we were also good in a lot of ways of learning the right way and just listening and being like, all right, if they say that, they gotta mean it. And we don't have that experience, so just take it as what it is.
Yeah.
And as you get older, you're either you're gonna learn the hard way or you're gonna learn the right way. And if you're gonna learn the right way, just listen to the information that you're hearing. Take a YouTube video and think, do I trust this person? Do you trust the Elliott Group? Okay, if they say this, understand that you're skipping a puddle versus stepping in the puddle. Do you want to skip that puddle? Or do you want to step your shoe in that puddle and get your shoes all dirty? Then avoid it. We say, all right, well, don't do X, Y, Z. Don't do this. If we say don't do it and you do it, then you're going to get hurt. You're going to make a bad decision.
Right, like Ed Milet says, that echo's going to come back.
Yeah,
and hit
you're
you.
going to have those future consequences no
Yeah,
matter
no matter
what.
what.
Man, and what I've learned at 35 is now I've got to calculate the cost of my future decisions a lot more because I have a really good life right now, but I am now paying for the decisions at 21, 22, 23, making $400,000 or $500,000 a year, not understanding that I should have taken a lot of that money, invested it in a lot more things, and I'd probably have another 20, 30 million bucks right now. I literally wrote on the thing, cost of my future decisions on my mirror, and I wrote 30 million bucks because I wrote, I was listening to the wrong people about money, and I was watching them go buy all this shit that didn't suit their life. And that is a cost of a future decision. The cost of being unhealthy versus then having to be 35 years old. If you're 23 and you're eating cheeseburgers and you do that for the next 10 years, well, now you're 35 and you have to unscrew all of those years, and your body can't ever really catch up to that, no matter really what you want to do. So everything has a future decision. Everything has a future cost, and you just have to decide what it's going to be.
Right. Well, on the flip side, now with all the resources that are available.
Yeah.
I mean, you have everything is at your fingertips now. Like, you can surround yourself with good people and your mentors. You can actually get to know them. A lot of people say, hey,
there wasn't that back in the day when we didn't have that.
Like 13 years ago, 14 years ago, when we started in the car business, we couldn't go hang out with a lot of these people. We couldn't go listen to a lot of these people. It was like you just listen to.
If you saw a seminar, it was like on a clip on a newspaper, and you're like, oh, it's coming to town, and then it's like, oh, well,
but like
it's
you
Saturday.
couldn't. The thing was, is like we did learn a hard way because we would go like. We would listen to the few managers that we had, and we knew that wasn't right, but there wasn't a lot of information available out there. Now there's a lot of information out there. There's almost too much information. So now you just need to decide who you're going to listen to and how you're going to receive it.
Yeah.
That's right.
I would just choose one or two. I would just choose you and Andy.
Aw, that's
Legit.
very sweet.
You first, and then Andy.
You legit.
It's got to be me first.
Legit.
I'm the one that
Well, you
keeps him
influenced
checked.
Andy. You were Andy's real coach, and I think that's probably one of the coolest things because we've watched Andy get off track a little bit. He gets ADD. He wants to go this way, and that way may not be the right way, and you adjust him and you reel him in.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we should be asking you questions because we get to see the side of it that nobody's gotten to see. And I think like your ability to navigate this business and navigate all these personalities is unreal.
How do you keep a guy like Andy Elliott in check? How do you reel a guy like that in if you've got somebody like that so fired up right next to you all the time?
I am addicted to hard shit, and I've been that way since I was like young. Andy was my biggest project. When I met Andy, like, it was one of those things, like, he was like the guy that you don't want to talk to, like the worst one ever. And I'm just so hard-headed that I was like, hey, you know what? I don't take shit from anybody. Like, I'm gonna change this guy. But I don't put up with any shit. So if he ever messes with me, I'm just gonna tell him, like, hey, you're never gonna see me again. And he was like, oh shit.
You've given him hard lines along the way.
Oh yes, massive hard lines along the way.
And even as he's grown, you've given him more of those hard lines.
Yeah, but it's a line of, like, I've been very, like, I guess had him on a short leash, but also shown him that I believe in him. And I've shown him, hey, when he's gotten comfortable, like, I don't let him complain about certain things. I've made him see another side of him ever since the beginning. When I met him, he was a used car manager. I truly believe, and he does too, and he says it all the time, that he would probably still be doing that today, but I had to make him feel uncomfortable and tell him, hey, you're better than this. Like, what are you doing?
What does Andy get uncomfortable with? Yeah.
When I look at him and stare.
Yeah, totally.
He does.
It's so funny. Like,
You
this
do
can be
push him
funny.
and motivate him in ways that, like, there's nothing out there that could. And I think
We love it. We actually love watching
I
it because
think
it's like the only time he gets nervous, he starts stumbling over his words.
he starts stumbling his words. He's like,
And you see me right there looking at
and
him.
then he's like, oh, and then our conversations change.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah.
We're like, damn, Andy.
But like, dude, that
So
is
Andy
so cool.
Elliott gets nervous.
Totally
He does,
nervous
he
around
does.
you. There's nothing else that makes him nervous. But I think it is really cool that you do, like, have those hard lines with him, but you also do give him the the free range to, like, go out there and, like, go be great, go to pursue. He had to leave like, as we went and traveled the world for the first, like, few years, like, like, we had to go, he had to miss a lot of family time, like, you had to miss a lot of husband time, but you were, like, putting him in the game and being like, hey, like, go do you. I remember, like, when we go into these things, like, he would call you, like, at halftime of the sales seminar, and you'd be like, are you at the dealer? And he'd be like, yeah. You'd be like, don't call me while you're at work. Like, call me. And I remember you, like, yelling at me. He'd be like, oh, I'm sorry. I just want to give you an update. You're like, I don't need an update. Go do your job. Like,
That's how we tell him,
like,
yeah.
you'd just be like pushing him, like, just fueling the fire. Like, you just take logs and, like, dump it in Andy's
Well, I
fire.
tell him, hey, because baby, I'm missing you. I'm like, don't miss me. I want you to go. You go there to freaking change these people's lives.
Yeah.
You go there and touch every single person there. When you get home, show me you miss me when you're here with me. I don't need you to think about me when you're there.
Yeah.
You be where your feet are. You go do go tear some shit up. That's what I would tell him all the time. But I think it came from, like, you know, I've always believed in him, but Andy, even though he was all over the place, even though he was just a loose cannon, he always has had a really noble heart.
Yeah, totally.
He's always had a noble heart. And I think that that's the thing that I would look at. And I think when it came with you guys too, like you guys were like a package deal, and you guys have been a crazy project, I think, for me, just because, you know, like it was really hard for us to get you like to like do some certain things, like, oh, put your information into the CRM and do this and do that and kind of follow instructions type of thing. But it's almost like you guys reminded me of like Andy, and Andy has been my biggest project. And I'm not saying that you guys have come so far, but you guys have such a good heart that it's like it's so hard to like not love you guys, because you guys are so like you have such good intentions. And when you were talking about like just the intuition. I mean, I think I have massive intuition. That's why I say I'm like the cartel leader, because I can tell when somebody's lying. I can tell when somebody has good intentions. Like, and there's some things that have slipped and gone past me that I'm like, hey, you know, or Andy will be like, convince me, like, oh yeah, this is a good person or whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, you give him a chance. And then you guys have that feeling. You're like, you know, this person, and I'm like, man, I felt that too, but I kind of. And you're always right when it comes to that, which is really cool, that having that heart and that intuition, and you guys are so protective with me and Andy, I think sometimes. And at first I was like, man, this is kind of weird. Like I was so used to just me protecting Andy all the time. It's really cool to be in a group where we have the team protecting us.
Totally.
What is something that you guys, like, I know like when it comes to new people coming in or whatever, like what is it that made you guys like always like want to protect us?
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's because you guys really did change our lives, and when you have that belief in somebody, you don't want anything bad to happen to them. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't really care about somebody, then your intuition probably isn't up. But like, we're skeptical of everybody. Like, we don't trust almost anybody. It's really hard to get our trust. We know people's hearts. We know what you guys did for us, and we know what that can do for the world. So we're always just watching people, and we just know. We've just been burned for so many years, you know what I mean? Like that, we're just like, we want people to prove it. And with you guys, we know what we've got. And so we're like, man, prove it. Like, and you're going to constantly always have to prove it. And almost no matter how much you get to know us on the team, we're still watching. We're still waiting. We're still looking. We're still seeing if 1 + 1 = 2. Like, God just gave us some insane intuition. I can see what somebody's going through. I can feel what they're feeling. I can feel what they're about to do. Like, I can tell what they're thinking almost. It's like, I feel like I'm like living in some people's heads. Like, I can legit see what's going on.
And that's a gift. It's a gift. But you also show them love, which is a really, really crazy thing.
And some people, you know, even when they're getting ready to go down like a bad path, it's not like, you know, because we've had some things happen, and like some examples like that, you know, and I think it's a powerful thing to have on the team leader side, because some people, they can get in their own way, and as they go to get in their own way, we have to have good intuition to be able to protect them from themselves. Like, because they may not have a bad heart, they may just be getting ready to make a couple mistakes that then leads to, you know, them exiting the company or exiting, you know, things bad in their lives. So
people can change.
I don't know, man. I think that was just something we always had.
That's good. Now, going back to like the team, now I know that you guys have always been massive into pouring into the team, and I know you started doing that before you even started working with us. In fact, I think we learned a lot from you guys to do that. Like, we built a team, and you guys are one of the few people that came on with us, which is awesome. But like, what made you, when you were selling, you know, cars, and you were killing it, and you were number 1 and number 2 in, you know, in the nation, all this other stuff was going on, like, I know that you guys, like, when you first started coming to seminars to us, like, you would send people that were in the team and everything. You would buy their tickets.
Yeah.
What made you want to invest in the team? Because a lot of people are so competitive. They just want to prove that they're number 1, and they don't want to invest in, it's like the competition.
There's a real scarcity mindset around it.
Big scarcity
especially
mindset.
Especially with a lot of top producers, they don't want other people to. They don't want to share the light. The limelight or whatnot. In fact, Ian and I don't really like that. We like to put that on to other people, and we just learned from a sports mentality early on. Like, there's a couple of sides to this, but on a sports mentality early on, like, you're only as strong as the team.
Right.
So like, if you're the star quarterback, you're nothing if you have a terrible offensive line. You're nothing if you have a terrible wide receiver. So every time we were going to make bigger money or make more money, or even at the dealership level, if we wanted the dealership to have bigger incentives for the salespeople, we knew we had to make them more money. And if we made them more money, usually we would make more money. So it was just like 2 + 2 = 4.
How did you learn that, though?
I mean, it was just watch, just like kind of, to me, it's just
natural.
It's just normal. I'm like,
So
hey,
were you offered a management position where you had to bring in the team,
yeah,
or first were you doing that
we
while you
were
were
always
selling?
offered that, but we always just
just did
loved
it.
sales, but we just always also just we wanted people to be better, and we
Right.
wanted people to be great, but we also realized that if Ian and I were selling 20 cars, 25 cars, 30 cars, well, we would slow down around certain numbers, 40 cars, we'd slow down around. But we had some guys on our asses, it would push us to make
Right.
more. So we never were worried about it.
Yeah.
We would give everybody all of our tips. Hey, here's what I did to do
Yeah.
this. We never were scarce on it. I think people
But we
just
also like, you
were
know,
scarce.
we had, you know, a couple of things like, you know, when we were doing bad, like if we were doing bad in the team, like we would immediately attract attention of the ownership, because it's like if we were the only one selling cars and the team wasn't doing good, it was like, what's going on,
Yeah,
twins?
why
Like,
aren't you guys
know,
working today? We're like,
you know,
"Man, dude, can I
so
get a
we
day
could
off?"
never take a day off. So we were always like, hey, dude, like let's get the team running, because then
Then they
there's
won't
no
talk to
like
us on our
spotlight on us, because we're gonna be the top guys. That's just how we're built. We're built to go dominate. We're not built to be number 2 or 3. Like we are built to be like savages. Like that's who we are. So we were always like, we got to get other people good, because there ain't no life if we don't get these dudes good. And then back to our grandpa, we were just naturally training. And then also we didn't come from a whole lot. Like we had a mom that worked really, really hard. You know, she was in the military, still is, did all these good things, but we grew up in a community where, like, you know, it was drug dealers, and like that was it. Like if you wanted to be successful, you were selling the wrong shit, right? And so we saw all these people that didn't have a good life, and we're like, man, so the salespeople we'd be like, dude, if you could get
wanna
what we
change
got,
that.
like you wouldn't have to go do illegal shit. You wouldn't have to go do all this bad shit. Like you could be great, do it legally, and make a lot of money and make your family proud. And so we just thought, man, if like we don't really understand people who don't want that. Like that's our hardest thing, is to try to understand a 1%er versus, or a 99%er that's like, I just want to be average, bro. I'm cool. We're like, dude, you got to be the one for your family. Right. So we always just looked at people and then just believed that they could be great. It's like Andy. It's like Andy's greatest attribute, but sometimes his biggest downfall. Like because he just loves so much, where he will love you to death, and even if you're stabbing him, like he's like gonna be the guy that like never gives up on you. And that's always been us. Like we were always like, you can do it, and they're like not meant for that, and we're like that's just who we just always wanted people to have that. You know, we never wanted people like, we can't. Your hardest thing that you deal with is writing small checks. If somebody makes a smaller check on the team,
I hate that.
and we hate it too. Like
I like, dude, I just want to have friends that are doing good shit.
We want rich friends.
I want rich friends. I don't want no broke friends.
We hate going jet skiing and having to buy all the damn jet skis, and you can't hang out and pay none of the tab.
I like my friends making.
You know, now we get with you guys. You guys want to pay all the dinners. Like we go it for 10 years. We were always trying to get people to make more money so they could pay, or at least chip on the tab. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's good. I think the important thing is, growing as a team.
Yeah.
Because it is true. What you're saying is exactly how Andy and I feel. We can't have all the nice shit and have people struggling in our team. You're only as strong as your weakest link. So if we
It's
can
no
all
fun.
build them all together, then we can build the life that we really
And there's
need.
just so much. Like I don't understand car salespeople who want to tear the other team members down, because it's like, bro, there's more out there for everybody. Like if you think fixed, you're gonna have a fixed life. If you think abundantly, and you're like you're gonna have that. But like,
Are you calling somebody?
Oh shit, I am on the phone with somebody.
Turn
Oops,
around.
Oh, Ben, sorry, I'll call you. I'm on a podcast with Jackie. Say hi, Jackie.
Hey.
I'm literally live on a podcast. My phone ring. I'll call you right back. Okay. All right. Sorry, bro. Sorry, guys.
There we go.
And Ben Burton, But like going back to management, we had the store that we were last at, say, hey man, we'll pay you on the total of the store because you guys bring so much value to the store.
Yeah.
And we were like, we were doing it for free. We were like, well, we don't really care. And they're like, well, you guys are so valuable to the team that like we never want you guys to leave, so we'll pay you for it. And we're like, that's crazy. So like,
well, that was
if
the
you
first time that we
you got to
actually
work
really
for the
saw
job that you want. We always wanted to lead the company. We always wanted to do something big.
That was the first time that somebody actually
saw that value.
Well, because we used to do a lot of it just cause, but then we had a really good group of leaders that recognized that in us, and they were good to us, and they came up to us and they said, because we told them, hey, here's what we went to a store that was failing. We said, hey, in 90 days, we're going to show you what we want to do. They said, what kind of pay plans do you want? We said, pay us
same as everybody else.
Pay us the same as everybody else, and we'll show you what's possible in the next 90 days.
good.
We transformed 3 different dealerships in their culture, their training, their mentality, the whole thing. Transformed all 3 of their stores, and then they came to us and they said, we're going to pay you guys. You guys generate more leads for every store. You train all the people. We'll pay you on all the stores. No salesperson gets pay like that. And, you know, we were actually making so much money at our store that they like literally would not let the sales manager deliver our checks. We had to give us our regular check. They would only let the sales managers deliver one of our checks because they didn't. It was like a little secret deal. Sorry, now everybody knows it. But then we would go up to the general sales manager's office and he would give us our checks because, you know, he knew what we were doing, but like he knew that some of the people would get ego and entitlement and all that stuff.
But that's kind of like a cleaner. Like you're making, instead of a closer, you're not trying.
We didn't even need the credit for it.
You don't need the credit. And that general manager, he didn't need the credit for us influencing the culture, saying I brought the twins in to do this. He was just like, hey, however I can make the results happen, I'm gonna make it happen.
Yeah, and then we just kind of just did our thing and kept it low key and just grew, just built people up.
But you delivered first.
Which finally, that was like our last 3 years in the car business, and that was our best 3 years. Just I don't even think we were selling more cars than we did our first 5 years.
No, we weren't.
But we were more fulfilled.
We were having more fun. It was more about the team.
And we were working out. It was almost like our last 3 years in the car business was like we were preparing to come work for you guys without even knowing it.
Yeah.
When I talked to Andy, we were reading the same books.
Yeah.
What we were doing.
I was doing
the
our
same
Snapchats.
stuff.
Like we look back at these things. I should show them to you.
We're calling it
I
the
still
Lions
remember.
Den.
I still
We were
remember
calling it
first
Lions Den.
when he was teaching you the credit reestablishment close.
Yeah.
You guys were on this rooftop.
Yeah.
On that Zoom.
Yeah, totally.
That's where it was.
That was at the DAC in Denver.
That was funny. Yeah.
But we were saying all these things like, you know, like we were like, oh, the Lions Den. We used to call our dealership the Lions Den, you know, and then we had all this like lingo that
you
was
were
like what
made in the lab,
we were
right?
doing now. Yeah. Total the Andy Elliott sales lab.
That's right.
But I don't know, man. It seems like we manifested like you guys, like we literally prayed for you guys. We literally didn't know why we were developing sometimes in the ways that we were.
You know, the funny thing is Ian and I used to watch this one show, Bar Rescue, all the time. Shout out to John Taffer. We loved this show because he would come into broken bars and he would fix them and he would bring 3 experts in.
Yeah.
And so Ian and I would be like, one day we would tell people around us, you got to get better at your job because one day we're gonna go in, we're gonna transform dealerships. And they were like,
they didn't really believe us.
They didn't get the vision. If we'd have told you guys, you'd have been like, heck yeah.
And then when we met Andy, we're like, he can be the John Taffer.
He can be the John Taffer.
And then we can be the
I'll be the guy that goes.
And then we're like, Jackie knows finance. She could be the finance lady, and like, you know.
But we always had that dream to go in and fix broken dealerships, and then literally, like, we dreamed about it for so long. I'm like, Ian, you watch this episode. You see how John's talking to him. You see how the experts going in. You see how they're doing this.
Eventually, when you're so spun up about shit, it has to just happen.
And then a couple of years later, that's literally what we started doing all around the country. We would go into broken businesses and fix dealerships, and then we fix them. Then we started going. Then everybody started to see how crazy our business was. We started to learn so much about entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship. We started to learn everything. Then we started going to all these other businesses, and it literally felt like we were on Bar Rescue. Every time we'd walk in almost like the camera lights were on us. People would be looking at us, and we'd walk in like, all right, get the team together.
Yeah.
And Andy would go straight John Taffer. It's crazy.
It's just like manifesting it.
We need to get John Taffer here, maybe. That would be a good guest.
Andy and John would be good on the stage.
That would be a good one.
All right, Jackie, what else we got?
Would be.
But we saw that the coolest thing, probably the coolest thing in our lives is that we did have the privilege of seeing you guys like at the beginning and like seeing like we've seen every well, probably not everything, but we've seen so much from like you guys, like how much you put into this. Like everybody wants your business now, but they have no fucking clue.
Well,
like,
you
what
were
guys
there
helped
when
with.
we, we had just sold our $1 million house
and lived
in
across the street.
Oklahoma. And we went into a 1,000 square foot little house, slept on mattresses.
Yep.
I remember when you guys first came on with us, we were still there. And I was like, you guys want me to help you like find a place? Or you're like looking at me like, with your style? I'm thinking like, well, we didn't have any furniture. Our kids were sleeping on mattresses.
That's not what we were thinking. That is not what we were thinking.
All right,
I'm thinking like, you guys saw that sacrifice.
Yeah. No, totally.
No, that's the sacrifice. They moved from $1 million house into this smaller house, and we called it the FBI lab, right?
Yeah.
Because they sold all their stuff to invest in the business. And when we got to that house, everything all day, every single day from 8 in the morning, from 6 in the morning till 2 in the morning was nothing but sales training, word tracks, closing, and there was whiteboards everywhere. And the
crazy.
kids were hitting us with objections every time we walked out of the bathroom.
You know?
We're like, holy shit.
We're like a beautiful mind. You know how you used to write in the window?
You guys want to just stay with us? And we were thinking, we're like,
yes.
We're like, we're like, dude, we don't.
Bro, I don't even know if we can handle this shit. I'm like, bro, we gotta go home and turn our brains off for a second.
I'm like, I still like to watch TV.
And then like,
check this out. Well, they don't have TVs in their house.
There's nothing.
So I'm not gonna say we had any type of habits like they had. They don't have TVs in their house. They're running to work. We're like, what are these people? Like, these people are total freaking superheroes. Like, what is this shit?
Just need to take
and they're like, well, do you guys want to stay at our house? And we're like,
no.
Look, we're like, no. At first, we didn't know how to say no,
Yeah.
and then we came back and we're like, Andy, like, we don't want to stay
We're gonna stay at a hotel.
Like, you know.
So we
But
stayed
I
at
thought
the-
the craziest thing was like they build this $1 million house, and since we're from the hood, like we're in the inner city. The thing that you want the most is to like build like a house, like a big ass house with a fountain and a theater, and like that's your only type of success.
Our house looked like it belonged in a magazine.
So I'm like, and I've seen the pictures. I see the house across the street, and I'm like, what kind of people can sell their house, move across the street from it? Because in Oklahoma, the $1 million houses are across from the hood.
Yeah,
like, so they live in like the same neighborhood, kind of, and I'm like. These people wake up every day and see that sacrifice. I knew they had to be the real deal because I'm
Then
like,
the guy wasn't watering. The new owner wasn't watering the plants right. I'm
yeah,
like,
and then you
damn
had
it.
that Italian marble
I show up
fountain.
and
You
water
had
in
that
front.
fountain you got shipped from Italy, and I'm like, she sees this every day. I'm like, these people, there's no way they can't make it. We were like, all right, watching, if we just back into this thing, they are willing to give everything for this business.
Yes.
We didn't have CRMs. We didn't have anything perfect. We still aren't perfect today. Like, people see our business, they're like, oh, they must have everything figured out.
No.
Dude, we are actively figuring out how to kick our own ass all day long, every day. What's made us the most dangerous company on the planet, in my opinion, is because we have a lot of people that are problem solvers, not complainers. We'll get together, we'll figure it out, we'll bash our heads against the wall, we'll figure things out, and we will act fast.
Yeah, right.
But we still operate like that little place in that little house where we were like so excited every day to figure something out. I was telling Miranda this yesterday. I'm like, you know, this Lacey that we have now, that she's doing these operations and everything. I'm like, I can't believe what she's fit. Like, we prayed for these things and all this different technology and all this stuff. But early on, it was really cool to see like how much you guys were willing to give, like time,
crazy.
effort,
You know what's so
fucking just all the shit.
You know what's so crazy? Like, even like living there, like right there, and seeing this other house that used to be like our kids. I mean, they gave up their rooms, they gave up their toys, they gave up the
Every
summer,
one
all
of
the
you
stuff,
I thought were
everything.
crazy.
All the furniture, everything gone.
They are
Like,
crazy.
there
They
was
are.
not
They're-
one time
Yeah.
while we were even sleeping in the mattresses, because our kids had little cots. We shared a room with our kids.
Yeah, I remember.
My
remember.
daughter's
I see it.
playhouse was in the bathtub because we had no room.
I remember.
Okay. There was not one time though that I was like, man, did we make the right decision?
Yeah.
Our brains do not.
You guys have
function
always
that
been
way.
so decisive.
I've never made a decision, been like, I should have done this, or we should have waited on this, and we shouldn't have jumped the gun so fast. That's the way that doesn't exist in our brain. Like, we always make a decision, don't think about it. Like, it's like if I'm negotiating something, let's say on a house or something now.
Yeah, it's in
if,
and out.
Say, hey, you know what? I'll take this if you don't want it. Like, if that's fine, I'll move on to another one. I don't think about, man, I should have done this and I would have done that. No, like, it's very hard for me to lose, first of all. But I don't think about it. Like, if I make a decision, that's a decision, and I'm done. And that's how it was.
Well, we
when
always
it happened.
admired that. See, that's good. I've always been trying to. That's one of the things
that we struggled in.
I try to work on.
Yeah.
Because you guys do make decisions fast and just live with them. It is what it is.
We did get used to that
I'm like,
immediately, though, because like I remember we got our biggest checks that we'd ever gotten in the car business in our whole lives. And dude, this is before COVID. Like, this is before COVID, all the big grosses. So we were working really hard. And Andy was like teaching us to be decisive. I think he was like subliminally like priming us.
Oh, yeah.
And
He was
and
framing
he's
us
like,
left and right.
He's like, you guys are gonna get your biggest checks one day, and you guys are gonna join me right then, because you're gonna realize that
He's
it's
like, you're
about
gonna be
fulfillment.
sitting in the
And
parking
you're gonna be
lot,
sitting in the parking lot
and you're
outside the
gonna-
bank,
and
and
you're
you're never
gonna
gonna
hate-
cash them, and you're
you're
gonna
not
hate
even-
yourself.
you're gonna hate that
And I'm
check.
like,
I'm like,
no, bro, you're so
stupid.
dumb. And then
Oh, he's so dark.
We got those checks.
No.
We got those
And we
checks.
drive to the bank, and I was like,
And
gonna
I'm like-
Snapchat it and show one of my buddies.
And
I was
I'm
gonna
like,
send it
I'm
to him, and I
like,
was
I don't
like,
even care about this no
fuck
more.
this
But you
check.
know, Andy did a good job.
framed us.
He did frame us in the mind. He taught us to think further, because he did that one YouTube video with us, and then all these kids were driving to our dealership from across the street, all the different stores, and we would teach them, and our general manager would be like, hey, why are you guys teaching the
competition?
Literally, the kids
we
from
were
across
like,
the street.
nobody's the competition. We were like all fired up, right? We were like, these kids need it. Like, this is all that matters. We'd have people calling the dealership, and we pick it up, and we'd be training them
And
while
then you
we're
gave
working
your phone
deals.
number to everybody,
Yeah,
and you're
and then
still
give our
working
phone
on
number
it.
to
everybody.
phone number.
And then so when we got those checks, we literally like that day looked at each other and we're like, dude, I think we're meant to be there. And we had literally just gotten the biggest houses in our life. We moved in these penthouses next to each other. The MVP of the Nuggets, the Joker, lived in the middle of us. And this is like our goal, to live like next to athletes. Like, remember, like where we're from, we're like, man, we live next to athletes. Like, we made it. We got these cars. And then we moved in, and then we saw those checks, and we literally only slept like maybe 1 or 2 days in those apartments.
We went and bought all new furniture.
We had bought all new furniture,
and then we
Getting
slept
out of those is-
getting the leases, like
we
and
slept
then,
like a week.
And then
there.
we went to Oklahoma. We lived at the La Quinta for like months, and we literally didn't ever
What's
go
in La
back.
Quinta? It was the what?
Oh, Ramada Inn or something.
something.
But people thought we were in like the witness protection program or something, because they're like, "Why? How are you going to leave this life to go backwards?" We're like, dude,
Are you in the witness protection program?
they're like, because that's only people who move to Oklahoma. They're running from some shit, right? So they were
Yeah.
like, what are you doing? And we were like, we knew, and I think this is hard for people to get, we knew that by going backwards in their mind, like you guys did with your house, going backwards in their mind, we were going to go 500 steps further than them. It might take 2 or 3 years, but then we are going to get there. And I remember
It didn't take 2 or 3 years for you.
it took me, it was like, you know, we started making, like, obviously we didn't struggle because you guys taught us how to sell, like, in the program really fast, but like, what we had saw was like, as COVID started happening and commission checks started to come in, people don't understand this shit. Commission checks would come in and general manager would call us and they'd be like, dude, you could make $1 million selling right now. You could make, with what you guys sold, and it's just the truth, for 10 years we sold. 10 years we sold. We never had a chance to make these kinds of commissions. And they'd be like, you could run our store. You're with Andy. You know this. Like, come to this. We'll give you all these. And we were like, you guys don't understand. Our loyalty is not for sale. Like, no matter what you offer us, no matter what it is, we know that most of the shit you're telling us is lies. And even if it was the truth, we now have something that you can't take from us. We can't explain to you. We can't walk you through it. You're not going to understand it. We're not leaving. We're not going. We don't care about the money. And people would be like, don't you struggle with knowing that you're making like a quarter of what you could? We'd be like, it ain't even about that. It is, and one day it's going to work out in a big way.
Look at me now.
Now we're over 7 figures. We'll be doing that a month. But like now but early on, people just don't understand. To get that rocket ship off the freaking thing, Evan was saying this the other day, he was like, dude, to get that rocket ship off was hard.
It's hard as fuck.
In a business, it's hard to get that rocket ship to just propel and just to go up. But when
Especially
it gets
with
up there,
building a team.
then it's going, man.
Yeah,
And then it's in space,
when
and
you're
it's not
building a
hard to
team
get
and
that.
you're building your life, you just
going.
gotta go so hard and get that thing up in the air. And once it leaves the atmosphere, you just kind of, and then you're just kind of adjusting stuff. But it's that point where
That
people
build.
quit,
There's
right?
that
And that's the hard part.
And there's always going to be somebody that's going to offer more money.
Always.
There's always going to be, because that's just the way it is. We don't work for money. We work for that lifestyle.
Yeah.
We work for who we are.
And I don't think people can truly understand that.
I think people
Like
think
average
we're
people
weird when
can't
we say that.
Because they're like, it's all about
Let's
money.
be
And I'm
weird
like,
together.
yeah.
How about
Well,
that?
That's it.
if you're about people, you'll always get the money, and that's why most people out there that are amateurs, they never get the money,
They don't
because they're not
understand.
really about people, and they're not really about their company, they're not really about their
Which I
team,
understand. I was there
or
at one point.
or this is the coolest thing, they're about their team or their company for a year or two, but they're not about it for a decade, they're not about it for 2 decades, they're not about it for life. Like
They're
not
when
truly
it's
about it.
convenient
Yeah,
to
well,
them.
see, I've always wanted to do something for 20, 30, 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
I watched my grandpa work for the school district and build something really cool with him.
He built one
for
of the best
50
schools in the
years.
world.
My mom's been with the government and the military for 25 years, 30 years now.
30 years.
So like I always just thought that was cool. I never saw a lot of people jump around. Ian and I have never been guys that jump around. What we know is if you stick to something, pros, they have a long obedience to something in the same direction for a lot of years. See, you could get a little bit of success in 2 or 3 years, and you might trick yourself into thinking you fucking made it. We haven't made anything yet. This is just the very beginning.
This is scratching the
Wait till you
surface.
see us
in 10
in
years.
wait till you see us in 20 years doing this, and we know everything that we need to know.
Hey, but how many salespeople have you seen they start it and then they, a year or two they're doing good and then they leave year 3, but year 3 was when all the repeat customers were coming back. And then
it
they'd be
happens
like,
all
I
the
don't know
time.
how Ian and Evan sell as many cars. Bro,
Like,
I've been
I'm
here
here
for
6.
fucking 7 years, dude. Like, their kids are 12 and now they're 18.
Yeah.
Like, now they're driving, bro. Like, stick to where you're at.
like Bradley likes to say, it's fucking common sense. The problem is most people don't know how to use their damn brains. That's why I like Andy, because he makes you, and I like you because you always just, I mean,
Challenge
it's no, yeah, but you just say what is just the truth, and it's very simple.
There's no
and it's very-
filters.
Yeah, you guys
it's
just
like,
keep
hey,
it real.
you're a dumbass. You're not using your brain. Or maybe
How many
you
times have
lost
I
your way.
called you a dumbass?
A lot of the time, twice today.
Yeah, totally. Hey, and you need that.
Yeah.
Hey, if your environment doesn't foster like a little bit of like this, then like you probably just don't have the right environment, or you need to create it.
Yeah.
You know, but no, you've always kept
You
it real
gotta
for
just
us.
be
and-
honest. And
Yeah,
that's
we
the-
got to be
that's the
honest.
key.
We got to keep growing. We got
That's the
to keep pushing ourselves to
Yeah.
find fulfillment. And the truth is
Go
that
for
I
bigger
trust
goals.
you guys with my kids, and you trust me with your kids, and that's the way
Well,
to
his
be.
kid's named after you.
true.
And I was kind of mad about that. I'm like, I wanted my first kid to have Elliott as a middle name. You
Well,
know?
why don't you go the first name? Why don't you
I'm
show
gonna
more
have to, dude.
commitment?
I'm gonna have to
Ooh,
step
he
it up.
said it's okay.
I'm gonna have to step it up.
That's good.
But like, you
I
know,
love
the
that.
coolest thing, like even like, you know, like a lot of people don't have that camaraderie in their company. Like, you know, like you're planning our baby shower. It's my first kid. Like, I don't even know what to do with baby shower. She's all stressed out, and it's like,
not stressed out.
No, not you. Like,
Oh.
you know, like my wife, but like, you know, like babies, yeah. So, but it's like cool. Like she's like helping us take that on, and it's like,
Well,
when you
it's
have
a- it's
people
an
that really
honor
care
to
about you like that.
do
It's like
that.
another level of loyalty. It's another level of
go
trust.
hard.
It's another
Go
level.
hard,
like
motherfucker.
they say, there's good coaches and bad coaches. You'll run through a wall for a good coach, but you're not going to do shit for a bad coach. You've been like such a really good coach for us, where you could tell us to do
You're
whatever,
all right.
we're going to do it.
You're all right.
Most days she's all right. You know,
Sometimes she's not
she's a wear out kind of sometimes.
not
huh?
so great in my mind, but my heart
Is
knows.
this when
My
we go
heart
through the
knows
test
it's what I
days?
see.
Sometimes-
My mind says fuck her, but my heart says she's right. Yeah, I hate it. She's so right all the
No,
time.
but the cool thing is that, you know, we have that
She's
whole.
so mean.
Sometimes she is kind of mean though.
Yeah.
That, you know, like she is some kind
But
of.
it's the truth.
I am mean. I can be very, very mean, and I have that Hispanic blood. But I will not lie to you. You know, I'll tell you the truth. And hey, you know, I make mistakes, but you know, it's okay. I'll say that I'm wrong.
Yeah.
You know, I'll show you.
Yeah.
But it's cool. You know, we have that
Yeah.
that whole thing. Like, there's not many companies out there that actually get close to the wives and the kids and all that. And
Yeah.
to me, like, the kids are everything. Like,
Yeah.
when it comes
So
to like
fun.
anything. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you can tell me, like, or, you know, hey, they're going to go and do some adult stuff. I'm like, oh, it's okay, I won't go. But if you tell me that we're having a baby or something's
Yeah.
coming on, dude, let's go get a pinata,
Yeah.
let's go do this. let's go-"
Excited, yeah.
That to me, like, we live for the kids. The kids are our future. And like you said in
Yeah.
the very beginning, like, just seeing our kids and seeing how good
Well,
they
you-
are, you know that we're doing
Well,
a good
we
thing.
already know what you would have did if you didn't find the Elliott Group. You'd have been the host bringing like the pinata parties. Like you'd have been.
I'm so
she's
good
the
at that.
pinata
If you
party
ever
host.
do a
Pinata queen.
party,
She
I'm just
finds
telling
the
you.
craziest good pinatas, and then she's the one pulling the string, doing all the stuff, making sure the kids aren't getting hit. She's getting them all excited. I'm like, dude, this is crazy.
Dude, in our pinatas, you hit them and they do
don't-
not break.
yeah, they don't
It
break.
takes
Like,
forever.
you can go and go
Yeah.
and go.
But your
crazy.
kids also have that kind of heart too. Like Ian,
Yeah,
like
your
the other
kids
day when
are.
we were out ice skating, you know, you guys weren't there. You guys were doing something.
We
You
were
guys-
moving.
You were moving. Yeah, and we were taking them ice skating, and you know, Cannon, you know, my son's like halfway on the ice, like he's like struggling, and Ian notices, and he V-lines over there, and he's carrying him, and I got these videos of him showing him how to ice skate, and they're both following,
good
and
heart.
he's helping him up, and like stuff like that, and it's like, you know. Those are the things that like a lot of people they're
that
after
matters.
certain things, and you know, I was like, man, I'm after like a couple things, and it's like my kids growing up with the right kids, my kids growing up in the right environment. Like I just know by being the best at what I do and figuring out how to be the best at what I do, the money will come. But like you can't go buy a culture. Like we get all the billionaires that reach out, like dude, 10-figure business owners that
Oh, yeah.
they're miserable because
lost.
they got the money, but then
lost
like their families are around the
they
wrong
chase
families,
that,
or they're
trying to
around
lose that,
this,
right.
or they're around all the wrong things, and they're like,
Right.
man, like I don't know how I got here. So I know by like, I look like we started that conversation as like, I don't want to touch the stove. I'm like, all right, what's the stove? Because now I understand when you say something, you've been through it. I don't want to go through that shit because I'm now not having to learn the hard way after learning the hard way for 35 years. So now I'm like, okay,
Are you trying to rush us to 35 or 34?
are we?
Yes, I always tell you this, dude. You go by the year. 2024 means we're 34. 2025 means we're
1989.
35. Just do the math.
Yeah.
I just never been that good at math. That's why you probably make a couple more car deals because you could do it on the fly. Like I just feel like I'm 35. Like you know maybe.
You feel old?
Well,
I'm way
35's not
older.
old. You call
I know.
me
No, but if you're 34, why are you saying 35?
Well, because I just thought it was
Sorry to
35.
get you
But it's okay because most women say that they're younger. I'm 42, but like even before I turned 42, I was kind of like, oh,
I was
let's be
reminding
42.
you. I remind you
That I'm old?
Yeah,
Well,
They call me grandma
Well,
sometimes.
for 40, you could, definitely outrun 99% of the entire world.
Well, I have to make sure that I take
know,
your guys' souls. So I'm going
know,
to keep doing my little push-ups and
true.
pull-ups and all
It's
that.
true.
It's fun.
But I don't know what I was saying. I totally forgot now.
I don't know. It's just so much fun being a part of a company and a culture where you
Yeah.
know your family and your kids and everything can grow up in the right environment. It's hard as fucking hell to build. It
Yeah.
really is hard to build. Like, it is no joke to build a good team. But Andy and you always told us it was going to be that way. So, like, I'm okay with it. Like, it should be
You're
fun.
ready for it.
It should
Yeah.
be fun. Like, it should be like, wow, that was a freaking tough day. But that, I know that then I'm going to get tougher. If you want bigger money, you want bigger dreams, you're going to have to do it.
Yeah.
Now, what we've learned to do with you guys is actually put a smile on during the freaking stuff, or not take it
yeah.
so seriously.
Totally.
Because we're fun guys, but we also
we're super-
are thinkers,
super-
so we can get like
In your
super
heads.
down and we just have to say, not a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
all
Well,
good.
It's not a big deal.
There's a
Overcomers.
saying that's like,
Because you and Andy don't ever really look like you have bad days. I know
No.
you guys go through some crazy shit.
Oh, we do go
And
through some crazy
I know,
shit,
but y'all have
like,
that's
y'all
the
have
one
good
thing we say
attitudes.
about
I'm like,
them. I'll
damn,
say on
dude,
the
how are
sales
they
call,
freaking not
I'm like,
pissed off about
I'm like,
this?
shit's burning down, and they're over here like, golly, this is
Yeah,
great.
I'm
Like,
like,
you prayed for this, and I'm like, what?
Well, we had
Like, I
we
wanna
had
be
such
mad.
a shitty life that
Yeah.
in comparison, we're like, dude, like,
But y'all's
We're just grateful.
gratitude is like,
like next
another
level.
level of gratitude. But they like for the journey part, because like you guys we actually all like enjoy the journey. We
Yeah.
know that we're supposed to enjoy the journey. Even when we get serious, you remind us to be happy on the journey. But I read a quote the other day. It said the person that likes to walk is always going to get further than the person that just enjoys the destination. And I thought that's so true because like we like to walk. Like when we bring people out here and we run that mountain with them, the whole time they're miserable. And
they're not even looking around.
They're not even looking around at how beautiful the mountain is. We're like, oh my God, this is so fun. This is so fun. And we're looking around and we know like if the goal of a hike is not to just get to the destination, be like, I love the hike. The goal is like the nature and like looking
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
And when they get down, you know what they always do? They'll call their wives like, I killed that with the boys. You should see me and Jacqueline Elliott. We were running out. I'm like, you were miserable the whole time.
crying like a little biatch.
And that's just like life. Like as you're going along life, you
Don't
guys
cry
have
like
really
a
taught
little
us,
biatch.
don't be little bitches and enjoy that
The journey.
suffer. Enjoy the journey. Look around. Like look at the mountains. And I'll never forget that speech at top. You and Andy were standing up on the thing, and you
the
guys
bench.
said, "Hey, listen. Now look at all the other mountains. There's always going to be another mountaintop. So if you didn't enjoy getting to this mountain, you can't ever enjoy getting to the next mountain. So just enjoy it. So now I used to stress out early on when we were opening this company because it was like, it was really fucking hard, right? Like it was really fucking hard. It was hard to wrap your mind around teaching people every day, revenue. Like we were all just salespeople, not business people. So like learning business and laws and this and CRMs and strategies and this. And
we're new. I mean, it's a build.
but
I mean,
it's like once my mind caught up to like the growth factor and just like being cool with like being.
We got
also
the
it's like
rocket
cool.
ship up there.
Also, it's like being cool with being new. Like when we were new business people, like it was hard for me to be a new business guy because I'm not cool with being like not good at something. So I'm like I'd be like spun out about it. But then
but you're also very coachable,
Yeah.
which is the other
I just
side.
wanted
If
to
you
learn.
weren't coachable, then you wouldn't have made it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people that fear of being the new guy is a good fear that should push you
Yeah.
to not be new anymore or to learn to be new. But a lot of
Totally.
people, get inundated with that feeling that they don't. It kind of makes them stay behind, not wanting to learn to grow. So it's good that you're coachable.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
that's true. You always helped us with that.
Paralyzer.
Well, coachable is just being able to have the humility to look in the mirror and say, damn, I got more left inside of me to give or get, and just look at yourself and say you're not maxed out on your potential.
Well, you guys
And I
have
think
always
you
been
guys have
massively
always-
coachable too.
Like, yeah, I think that's the
we'll tell
biggest
you
thing.
guys something. Like we'll get pissed off about something, and we'll text you or tell
And then
you,
it's changed
and it's
in
like
a
changed
day.
the next day, and we're like, fuck,
like, damn, that's
man.
crazy. We should've
Or
said
like,
that,
remember when
like,
we
a
told you
week
guys to
ago?
write that book, and you guys were driving down to Mexico?
Yeah.
The deadliest book. Now it's sold like 10,000 copies. But we were like, hey, you guys should write a book, and then like we're like, we need this. We need to sell this. Like everybody's
I
asking
wrote
for a
the
book.
front half and Andy wrote the second half.
Yeah.
We remember, we were like, you guys have always listened to us because we have the heartbeat on the sales team, right? You guys are doing the business. You guys know what's happening in the sales world too because you guys make sales calls and all that shit. But we're like, we need a book. Like everybody's asking for a book from Andy. We called you back the next day and you're like, we're 80% done with the book. We're like, damn, they're freaking good, man. Like you guys
We're
always
like,
just,
this book can't, like, what kind of book are they writing?
You can't
And
write
then
a
we
book
got
that
the book
fast.
back and we're like, this is
Like,
and then we started reading.
A
We're like,
legit
this
one.
is
like,
legit.
and then
know?
you guys wrote that on vacation too. Like I'm like,
In the timeline. Was
like I'm like, dude.
And then we wrote it, got it printed. People freaking.
Or when we're like, hey man, our
crazy.
customers need to learn lead generation. And then you're like, lead generation, Andy, you're shooting lead
Let's build
generation
it.
tomorrow. We're like, what, man? Like that's been one of the best things about our company is like we're never gonna. You guys are always saying we're never gonna let people catch us, like in growth and development. So you guys always come in with something new that you've learned. Oh, and I'm like,
well, we're always students. I mean, always maintain yourself.
What's
as a
made you
student.
that way? Do you think?
Well, just, it's always been knowledge is power. Like with us, like we've always seen that in everything. So it started in the very beginning. I used to read books to Andy, starting from like Bible stories. I used to be kid Bible stories, children Bible stories. And I'd just read to him and he'd like pass out and then I'd start the next day. I kept doing it over and over and over. And like still now to this day, like Andy reads on his own. But like I read to him because he likes writing notes when I'm reading to him. So, and I don't know why he understands it a little bit differently, I guess, when I read to him. So we do a lot of that together, but we've always been into self-development. Like when Andy and I met, we had taken a lot of the same classes and courses when I did the finance and sales and all that stuff. Like it was crazy. Like we've always been into doing that and developing people because we've always had kind of management roles anyway. Where I was teaching, but like it's become an addiction. I got straight A's in school, and then when I got out of school, I didn't want to pick up a book. Andy got straight D's in school, graduated because of the tornado, and he was addicted to learning once he figured that gave him power. So knowledge is power, and we figured out that we were actually learning stuff that was actually going to get us paid, and we were actually doing stuff that was going to make us grow, and not just this bullshit that you had to go to school for. And I think we just became addicted to that, and we just wanted to share it.
I've seen you guys fight over personal development.
Oh my gosh, Andy would steal my books, and he'd go hide and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go make the bed. You finish getting ready," because we do half and half typically at the bed every morning. And then I'd be like, "Why are you taking so long?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm coming," and he'd be like under the covers reading. I'm like, "That's my book! Like, give me back my book." Those are our fights.
I've seen you guys I've seen him put his book in, like you take your book off your desk, like somebody gives you guys a book, like I can't remember who it was, but they were giving you guys a book and it was on your desk, and then Andy put it in his bag and he went to like walk off, like all slick. I'm like watching him, and then you're like, "Did you just steal my book?" And then like he was like, "No, like he doesn't lie," so he's like like acting confused, and then you know that he's confused the minute that you see the confusion in him, like the uncertainty left his body. The certainty left his body. You're grabbing him and you're grabbing the book out of his bag, and he just looks all like, "I don't know what the hell to do," like, and then like gives you the book, or
that's
like
funny.
we would always talk about, all right, if you're gonna like as we're going to like think about our seminars and stuff, we're like, don't tell Andy anything that you're thinking about presenting, because he also
steals it.
He also is the most insane learner. Like if you tell him something, I've never seen it where I could tell him something 20 minutes later, he could be giving a Zoom to 1,000 people. He's gone and researched the methodology, understood it, put it into his core, and he's just and he knows it better than the other person. Yeah, it's wild.
And
It's
he has a
crazy.
really
you
good
guys
skill.
both. It's like
So when I talk about certain things, or I know that I'm going to be speaking.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I have to do it before him. If I do it after him, I'm just like, dude, he's just going to say, and I can't share with him anything I'm going to talk about. So I'm like, don't tell me what to say. I'm not going to tell you what to say because you're just going to say everything I'm going to say before I go up.
Yeah, totally.
And it's just like, so now we just have to wing it because it just doesn't work on the planet.
Yeah.
It's the craziest thing.
I love that.
It's fun.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. We're competitive that way, but our arguments are usually for like what we're studying or something like that. Or he had time to write content and stuff, and I've been doing other paperwork stuff, and I'm just like, "Man, you got to write some content, asshole." I'm like, "I can't do that shit."
Yeah, I
Like,
gotta do payroll, legal, this, that, all the other stuff.
So anyway, it's fun. But anyway, going back to you guys, just want to tell you guys, massively proud of your transformation and growth.
Thank you.
And the men have become and are continuously, growing and becoming is just really cool. The dads you are, the husbands you are, just how you pour into the team and how you obviously like feed your energy. Like I need that, So if I see you and you're not on your A game, like it affects me. So you better just be smiling all the time and all that, because if not, I give you shit for that too. But I just want to tell you guys are massively important to our growth. And it's not just me and Andy. It's just crazy how people see Andy and they see everything that we have. I mean, Andy's nothing, without the team. I'm nobody without the team, and we just feed off of each other. And I think that's what makes us truly, truly special.
We all are. We all play a good role.
Thank you.
Everybody's role is super, super important, and we're just blessed to have a good people and a good team, and really good clients. That are just doing big things, and so
And they're going through massive
we're tremendously
transformations
blessed
as
for you
well.
guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
This is the Jacqueline Elliott podcast.
This is so
Ian
much fun.
Macklin.
We can do this every day.
We can just sit
We can
and
talk
talk.
about like all
Okay,
the.
now let's go into our podcast and we'll just start.
Yeah. All right.
Interviewing
Click.
her.
We're going to the other way. No,
Episode
thank you.
2.
We really appreciate you being like one of the just most real, true, authentic leaders. There's nobody with a heart like from like the bottom of our hearts. You've changed our entire families. You've changed the next 100 years of our family because like what we're learning and who we're becoming. We know that it's going to be big for a lot of people, and so we wouldn't get that without you. You know, like they say, Tim Grover says that Michael Jordan used to say, "Thank you. We couldn't have won a championship without you." It's like for you, we couldn't win this championship of life without you. So we're super grateful to everything that you do.
Takes a village.
Yeah.
It's all of us. Well, thank you. If anybody wants to get a hold of you for anything, how do they do that?
Our cell phone number. Evan and I share a cell phone. This is actually our cell phone together, right, Evan?
We share a bill. We share everything.
Yes.
No, you
they
can
share almost everything.
Yeah.
we have a business line that you can text us, and then it just one of us is always on it. So it's 480-780-2203. It's 480-780-2203. If you're out there and you're struggling and you need somebody to show you the way, guide you, if you're a company that needs to scale your team, if you're a person that needs to scale yourself, whatever it is, we're always one call away.
Yeah, those people that need to just enhance their game too. You know, you might not be struggling, but you might know that there's a lot more inside of you that you need a good coach. Everybody needs a good coach in life. Jacqueline's one of ours. I'm glad you're tuning into the podcast. I'm sure she's one of your coaches, and if there's any way that we can be of a resource, just let us know. We're here.
Totally.
We'll push you the way they've pushed us, so be careful.
Yeah,
You text that line.
If you cross that line and reach out to us, just be
you're in
ready to
trouble.
recreate and go to the next level because they ain't babied us. They just been showing us the way, making us do the damn work.
We
A lot
don't
of
need
people
no
running from
babies
that.
reaching out.
We need Navy SEALs, not baby SEALs.
Yep, that's right. We need contenders, not pretenders.
Total.
Exactly. Well, thank you guys for being on the show. Till next time.